The river for me is a place very different to anywhere else in the world. When I go there, I feel differently to any other place. It's like, I guess it's coming home, but it's more than that. You just feel completely part of the environment. So that's why I'm so passionate about its terrible state now. I see myself as an artist as a kind of witness, a person who interprets and hopefully gives insight on what's going on and how we might approach our relationship to nature. I think I'm probably a giant eye, as in this kind of eye. And the observational process that begins the work is really fundamental to it. This piece is called The River's Edge. As I was driving along taking the photographs of the Murray River, I started to think about the generations after generations after generations that had lived along the river, and I thought of a performance to do for the camera. There, of course, was no audience that would represent that ongoing habitation by people of the Murray River over tens of thousands of years. So I showed myself crawling out of the river, lying on the river bank in different positions, and then crawling back into the river, walking back in, finally vanishing again, and then coming back out, going back in, coming back out. And as the time went by, the shadows on the water changed, showing the time going by. So it was a performance for myself, really. This etching is called Life is Full of Situations, and it shows the historical aspects of the Murray. For instance, this map here is taken from a steamboat captain's map. They had these huge maps that unrolled, so as they navigated along the river, they'd roll the maps down to see where they were going, and it shows the depth of the water, the different kinds of trees that are growing along the river that they could chop down to feed their boilers. And this is where, this place here is where these photographs were taken. It's the place where the Murrumbidgee comes into the Murray. And this is zooming into the 20th century. It's a photograph taken from a satellite of the river in flood. And these two images here show how the river looks on one side of the river and on the other. And this detail here is a beer can that someone shot bullet holes into. So it kind of takes us from a very ethereal view of the river down to the absolute kind of, yobbo attitudes towards the river that you see all the time with all of the detritus along the river. My practice responds to ideas, and I match the medium that I use to the ideas. So I might be researching something and it starts to evolve as a sculptural work, then I'll go with sculpture, or it might be photography or printmaking, painting. This is a publication called Murray Marundi that I put together in 1980. It's two oral histories, one an Aboriginal family, Annie and Jack Coolmatree, who lived in Murray Bridge in South Australia, and my parents, Dulcie and Tom Ely. And the two narratives go through the book side by side, the black voice on the white background and the white voice on the black background, and you see the river going through the whole book as well. Included in the back, these are photographs that Annie and Jack were able to organise for me about the early days on the Coorong. And oh, they're such beautiful photographs, and also photographs from my family album that my mother gave me to put in. The early days on the block. This is setting the block up. It was just kind of flat country with nothing much there. And also historical information that refers to incidents and historical events that are referred to in the oral histories. This is a performance called Murray River Punch. All the ingredients are the pollutants that were going into the river in the 70s. Oh, there's insecticide, weed killer, lots of salt, sewage and chlorine. The mixture was heated up, so this disgusting smell kind of filled the student union building at Melbourne University where I did the performance, but the whole recipe was delivered completely straight, as if it was a legitimate recipe. And after I'd finished making the punch, I put it onto trays and took it around and offered it to everybody, along with little cheese and biscuits. So it was a cooking demonstration like you would see in a department store. The function of the Murray River Punch performance is to give people lots of information about the river in a very light-hearted way, so that they're informed. Yeah. I love going out bush on field trips and collecting all of the information and materials and taking photographs, doing drawings, all of that stuff. Making art for me is the place where I am most challenged and most engaged. It engages the whole person. I'm a maker. I think with my hands as much as I think with my head. And so when I'm in the studio fooling around, working things out, that's the place where I feel the most whole. I'm very much a sculptor. I think I paint like a sculptor, I take photographs like a sculptor, I make prints like a sculptor. In other words, I orientate towards form in space. Spatiality is really important to me. And when I take a photograph, I'm usually taking a photograph of either space or form or materiality of some kind. So the photographs are kind of archaeological in a way. They're looking for the detail, looking for the traces that we leave behind through our impact on the environment. These photographs here were taken in 1977, and these ones here were taken at exactly the same place in 2007, and the same here, across here, here, and here. So we have a comparison between, with a 30-year gap. This strip along here is the place in South Australia that I documented called Swan Reach. And there's not that much difference ostensibly between the two lots of photographs, apart from the different media. These were taken as slides, which have been scanned, and these, of course, are digital photographs. But you can see how murky the water is now around Swan Reach, whereas in 1977 it was a lot clearer than that. With this one, the difference is really dramatic because the water's gone down so far that really it's just sludge. And this is the place called Bottle Bend, where the acid sulfate had contaminated the water, and you can see the incrustation of the snags with salt crystal. So it's like, you know, just a scene of total devastation. I don't think I'm a proselytizer. I think I'm an investigator who puts my investigations out there for people to tune into, to become engaged, perhaps even more to promote an awareness, a feeling, a closeness, a connection to nature, because human beings need to have that connection to nature, but so often we don't prioritise it. Yeah, I'm trying to place the viewer into the work and look at the way humanity is impacting on the environment.